Hey guys, welcome to Indie Game Hustle. My name is Charles, and in this video, we're going to take a quick look at how we can set up a coin to add it to our actual UI here, just like so. So we have a player here, and as you see, as I walk into our coins, we're able to pick them up. It plays a little animation, and of course, the coin is being added over here. And so let's go ahead and take a quick look at how we can do that. So the first thing that we want to take a look at is our variables. So in order to do that, you want to go ahead and head over to Game Creator, Preferences. And in your preferences, you're going to have a section here. And of course, if you've been following along, you're very familiar with setting up a variable. All right, so here, what you're going to do is just go ahead and create a coin variable or whatever name you want to name it. But in this case, I do have it to coins. You just name it coins, and you want to give it a type number and set the value to 0. Now you can ignore this one here. This one has more to do with how I'm going about saving. And so everybody's going to save their variables and do different things. So I'm not going to touch on that just yet. But in terms of this particular video, all you're going to need is to go ahead and set up coins just like this. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and move this over here to the other screen. The next thing, let's actually take a look at how our coin is set up. Now, of course, you're going to have to model a coin. So create a coin or an object. And in my case, I have a coin that's a prefab. That's the reason why it's this color blue here. And in my scene, of course, I have this object here. I'm going to go ahead and go into that object. Now, inside this coin, I have two triggers. One labeled pickup and the other one for rotate. Now the trigger for pickup is trigger when a player enters into the trigger that I have set up here. So basically I have this trigger and I have it set to a particular radius, in this case 0.5. And so this is about as close as the player needs to get in order to trigger that off. Now keep in mind, if it's too small, it's going to be kind of hard. Well, yes, you'll hit it exactly, but I do believe that a little bit of leeway is needed to really make it feel good. So I put it at about 0.5 here. All right. So the first thing is on player enter. So you want to go ahead and create a trigger on player enter and then go ahead and add an actions. And so for my actions here, I have 4 different actions. The first one is going to communicate with the variable that we created in preferences. Now, in order to do this, all you have to do is go to add action, go to variables and go down to variable add. And then here in your global variables, you just can go ahead and look for coins. And so basically what this is saying is going to be your variable plus the value of 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, right? You can do any value. So for instance, maybe you have a set of coins that are only worth 1, then you would do that. If you have a different set of coins, maybe they're a different color, like red or something, you would set it to be 5 or 10 or whatever value you want that to be. All right, cool. So once we do that, I'm going to go ahead and close that. The next thing you want to do is play a sound. Now, of course, this is all optional things. This is all completely optional, but it does help with the game. You know, it's very rare that you see a platformer or any type of game when you pick up something, you don't hear something, right? So this gives the player who's playing the game, of course, an indication that something happened. And so we have a sound here. So you would just go ahead and search for the action play sound, and you would drop your sound action here. All right. And then the next thing we have is move coin. Now, this again is completely optional. You don't actually have to do this, but what I wanted is some feedback when the player actually touches the coin. So in this case, what you do is you do add action, and I'm going to go down to game object or object here, and then it's going to be move here. Okay. And then we would just go to target game object, and we would drag the actual coin here into this spot, right? And then we would change the position on the, in this case, the Y, because I want the coin to move upward, and I want it to kind of move, maybe rotate a little bit, but well, actually, I'm sorry. We don't want it to rotate. We would have that turned off. But in this case, we would turn off the rotate And what we would do is maybe how long it would take to get that position. And then the easing I would have bounce out. And so let me go ahead and show you exactly what that looks like. And so let me go ahead and hit play here. And so we have our player. And if I hit this coin, you see the little bounce? That's what it's doing. So just think, when we touch the coin, we're adding to our coin value. And then we have a sound playing. And then, of course, we have the bounce. And, of course, the next and last action would be destroy. And that's what you see here in our action, of course, here. We have the destroy coin. Okay, cool. So that's pretty self-explanatory once you take a look at it. And you can just kind of look at this. So I'll open all this up for you to just kind of look at it and pause the video if needed. All right, so the next trigger is going to be rotation. Now this trigger is going to be on start instead of on player enter. So we create another trigger and you can just put in the same location. And in this case, we're going to have another action. And then this action is going to be a rotate. So we're going to do add action. We go down to object and we just go rotate. Okay. And you select rotate. And then of course you'll select your target, which again is going to be the coin. We're going to do the space for self, and you want to do the rotation at the 90 degree here. So 90 on the Y, and then the duration, I put it at 1 at an easing of linear, right? And so this is going to get that smooth rotation, and it doesn't look like it don't skip. It's just constant, and it's going to loop. And by looping, you're going to need to hit the restart action. So you would just type in RES, and then you'll see restart actions there. And so that's going to continuously loop in the whole time. It's never going to stop unless you want it to stop. So there's things you can do to stop it if you need to. If you really need to cancel something, maybe there's like something cool, like you want to stop all your rings from rotating or something like that, you can actually do cancel actions. So if you had something else triggering this cancel, you can go that route, but that's a discussion for another day. But this is how I have rotated this. Now I'm sure there's some scripts out there, maybe there's other ways to do it, maybe there's even a better way in terms of performance, but this, using Game Creator, I was able to get this to rotate, and it's pretty nice, works pretty good. And so again, just look at it, hitting play, and as you can see, we have a nice rotation. Everything is rotating fine, and of course everything working together gives you a nice satisfying feel when you're actually touching the coin. All right, great. So that is how that part of the coin is working. All right, great. So the next part you want to look at is your UI and how that translates to actually picking up the coin and displaying that to the player, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to go into my game manager, and what I'm going to do is disable this fade in screen, and then I'm going to turn on the HUD so that we can see everything. All right, great. All right, so in terms of our HUD, we have all the normal things. We have our health and all these other things here, but the one that's important is going to be the coins area. And what I did was I created a panel within the UI. So you just right click and you go to UI panel. And within that panel, I created a few different objects. The first one is going to be a raw image, and you get to the raw image by going to UI raw image. And this raw image can serve as just like an icon for the coin, right? And then the second raw image can be kind of like a plus symbol or an equal symbol. Maybe that will be better, right? And then in terms of the text, this is what's going to change. Now the value that you have here is just text. So you can put anything here and it wouldn't make any difference because we're going to change that dynamically using the variables, right? All right, so the next thing you want to do is have a trigger within this panel. And this trigger is going to do a couple different things here. So the first trigger is going to be an on start trigger, and then the second trigger is going to be on variable change. Okay, so let's take a look at what the action is doing. And we're actually using the same action for both triggers. Okay, so this action is doing one major thing. It's just changing the text to whatever the global variable is, okay? And so what you want to do is go add action, and you can actually type in change, or actually you can just type in text, and you'll get change text, okay? And so here is where you would actually move the text coins into this section, all right? And then in terms of the variable, we would just go down and we will select the coins variable here, like that. All right, great. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that. And so now we have this linked up to this, okay? So basically the way this is gonna work is on start, it's going to update this text to whatever this value here, coins, is, okay? Now the next one, on variable change, is gonna do the same thing. So remember, when you're touching a coin in the game, that value in your actual variables is changing. And once that change happens, we're going to trigger that change to then update your UI, right? So let's go see that all in action here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play. And once we touch this coin here, what we're going to do is see this value change, all right? And so you got 1, we got 1. 2, 2, and that's how it's all working together. It's not terribly difficult. You just got to kind of work through some of the logic behind how that all connects and everything. And Game Creator does a great job of providing a lot of different actions and a lot of different tools and things that allows you to kind of think that through and then kind of make those little connections and whatnot. All right, so I hope that was useful. I hope that helps with setting up your coins or sparks. Maybe I'll call these sparks as opposed to coins since he's a robot. I don't know. I'll let you guys decide that, right? All right. So, of course, if you guys have any questions, reach out to me. As always, remember, never give up and keep moving forward. Peace.